Welcome to Nextpoint's Summer 2024 Quarterly Product Launch, our QPL. We are always excited to share with you the latest updates, things that we have been working on here at Nextpoint, some news about Nextpoint, some information about upcoming events that you can participate in. We're keeping it a little simple this quarter, but no less significant. We have a couple of very significant updates that we have been working on with an eye on security and data protection. You're going to hear about two main features coming to your Nextpoint databases. First is single sign-on, or SSO, something that's been requested from some of our larger customers and organizations that have some specific needs in security. And then you'll hear about the new data control admin tab for case administrators that gives you a little bit more control over transferring databases, for example, deleting databases. You'll hear a little bit more about that. But first, we want to give you some information about some upcoming events that we have planned for this summer, for June and July. Beginning with the end of June, June 26th, we are partnering with EDRM to provide a webinar entitled Solving the Small Firm Legal Tech Puzzle. We at Nextpoint are honored that we have a lot of mid-size and small law firms that utilize the Nextpoint platform. It's great to work with them, interact with them, and provide them with a tool that is useful for their practice. But on June 26th, we wanted to provide a little bit more resource-wise for a lot of those firms. We find a lot of those firms will even come to us and ask questions about what resources that are available to them from the legal technology. Where do they look? Where can they access that information? And that's what we wanted to provide in this webinar. So be on the lookout for that. And then going into July 10th, we're going to have part 2 of our chat with the authors of the E-Discovery for the Rest of Us book. A few months ago, we had a really fun session talking with Tom O'Connor and Rocky, our CEO, and Elizabeth from our marketing department, where we were talking about the why we decided to author this book, E-Discovery for the Rest of Us. This was something Tom O'Connor did a few years ago, and we had the privilege of re-releasing this book with Tom. We had so much fun talking with him a few months ago that we have part 2 coming up in July 10th. And then lastly, on July 16th, if you are in the Chicagoland area, we are excited to host a trial and deposition readiness boot camp, probably in downtown Chicago. We've done some of these boot camps around the country, and they are always very well received. We really got to get down deep into the weeds of how you can utilize some of the transcript tools, the chronology tools in Nextpoint, as well as applying issue designations and then utilizing the trial presentation tools within Nextpoint. We are going to provide an hour of CLE for this boot camp as well. So please stay tuned for some information, more information about that July 16th boot camp that will be held in Chicago. Well, now on to the main event, as it were. I am going to turn it over now to one of our amazing product managers here at Nextpoint, Saul Medrano, who is going to give you a little bit more information about the implementation of single sign-on in Nextpoint, as well as show you the data control admin tab.
Hello, everyone. I'm Saul Medrano, product manager here at Nextpoint, and I'm excited to share some major updates we've been working on, and they're all about security and data protection. In particular, focus on authentication capabilities and more oversight on data administration. These changes align with a couple of our core values. First, protecting your data, and second, that we ensure success of all so that we can continue to deliver changes that not only enhance your experience in the Nextpoint application, but safeguard your data. At Nextpoint, we understand that managing multiple login credentials across multiple platforms not only slows down your team, but also introduces significant security risks that your practice, reputation, and your customers can't afford. There is a better solution to this password fatigue coming to Nextpoint, and that is single sign-on, otherwise known as SSO. This technology enables organizations to provide their users with a single login for Nextpoint and the other platforms in their toolkit, improving security and simplifying day-to-day technology use. With SSO and Nextpoint, you're not only adopting a more efficient way to handle credentials, you're upgrading to a more secure, compliant, and efficient practice that empowers collaboration without sacrificing your integrity. I also need to preface that having an identity provider or identity management system like Microsoft Entra, Okta, or Dual Security is required to set up SSO. For those unfamiliar with IDPs, they function as centralized authentication servers that enable multiple applications to verify user identities. We currently support integration with Microsoft Entra and Okta using FAML 2.0, but plan on expanding to more identity systems and protocols in the future. So please reach out to your dedicated Nextpoint success representative if there's another IDP you'd like to see in our system. All right, so let's kick off the demo here. And I thought I'd take a moment just to share with you all the current state of the login page. You guys can see this is very kind of standard login window where you guys provide an email and a password. And so let's go ahead and do that now. I'm gonna click login, and that's gonna take me to my discovery database. And so again, with the current state, passwords are set and defined in the Nextpoint application. They are separate from whatever your system admins are controlling over on their IDP side. And so this means that you have a separate set of credentials that are specific to Nextpoint. So now let's pivot to kind of the future state where your IDPs or your system admins have a little bit more oversight and are able to manage credentials on their IDP system. So here, a page I'm pretty sure all my system admins are familiar with, but this is the Okta dashboard, and I am currently in the applications section of the application tab. So this is where the magic happens. This is where the integration takes place. This is where Okta meets Nextpoint and Nextpoint meets Okta. So let's go ahead and kick off the create app integration. And like I mentioned earlier, we are leveraging SAML 2.0, which is essentially the protocol in which these two systems speak. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Click next. And then you're going to be prompted to provide an app name. Here's obviously just Nextpoint. You have the option to also upload a logo. But for the sake of the demo, we won't do that. And so we're going to go ahead and click next. And this should bring us to the main page, where the core agreement between the two systems is happening. So on the Nextpoint side, we are creating a user pool, which is essentially a group of users that are specific to your account and obviously specific to your firm. And so once we generate that user pool, we're going to provide all the set information. So the first piece of info is going to be the single sign-on URL, and then the audience URI. And then one piece of information that we're also going to define is just kind of how you guys are sending information to us. And it's just the attribute statement, which again is going to take a URL. And then we're also going to provide user email here. Yep. And so we're going to go confirm. And this app is being created internally. We just set it to this. This is an internal app that we have created. And then we're going to go ahead and finish. And then boom. This is it. This is the part where we just need that one piece of information from you, and then this is the metadata URL. So we're going to store that on our system, and then that should complete the integration piece. And then the only outstanding item here at this point is adding users to the Nextpoint application. So we're going to go ahead to go to the directory, go under people. You guys can already see there's a few folks listed here. We're going to click on Saul Medrano. And then I'm going to assign myself to the Nextpoint application. Click assign. I should see Nextpoint now. Yep. And then we're going to go ahead and save and go back. And then that's it. The integration between Nextpoint and Okta, which is the system your firm is using to manage credentials, has been established. I've added Saul myself to the Nextpoint application. And so this means I can now use my Okta credentials to log into the Nextpoint application. So let's see how that looks like. So Now we're here to the new and improved kind of Nextpoint login experience. Like I mentioned earlier, we are creating like user pools that are specific to your account, specific to your firm. And this just means that we're going to use that to bring in the appropriate login experience. There is a case like today where a firm doesn't have SSO, and so they're going to be kicked off straight to the native login experience, which is again the on-prem um, uh, email and password. And then with SSO, and you guys can see this here, and I'll just kind of walk you guys through it right now. But I'm going to input my subdomain lab C5 staging. And now, as you can see, I have the option to either log in with my Okta credentials via SSO or sign in with email. We're going to go ahead and go up with Okta. And so what's happening here is that the Nextpoint application is calling your IDP and saying, hey, Saul wants to log in to the Nextpoint application using his Okta credentials. May you please provide the appropriate login screen so I can show that to him. And then boom, we see that here. And as you guys can see, I've input my Okta specific credentials, Saul Medrano plus Okta at nextpoint.com. I'm going to go ahead and log in with those. And then now I am in the Nextpoint application. So like I mentioned earlier, there's multiple reasons why we're implementing SSO, but in essence, we want to streamline the user experience in the sense where you don't have multiple passwords. You can use passwords that are defined and managed by your system admins. And system admins, we want to offer that flexibility, right? To have one-stop shop for your password management, and that is within your IDP. So like I mentioned earlier, again, feel free to reach out to your dedicated customer support rep and see how we can get SSO enabled for you. And now to the next enhancement. We're introducing the Data Control Admin tab to the Nextpoint application. Going forward, every account will now have a Data Control Admin, which will be established when the account is created. This gives you centralized control over your data and adds an additional layer of protection when requesting changes to your data. The Data Control Admin will be responsible for approving data requests like custom reports and data archiving or deletion, or even full database transfers. All account administrators at your firm can view this information simply by navigating to your firm's account dashboard under the Security tab. You'll be able to add, update, and delete DCA all from this one location. This enables us to carefully oversee how we store, protect, and dispose of your firm's information, and ensure we introduce the proper procedures to ensure proper data governance is in place. We appreciate your continued support and look forward to enhancing the Security tab to encompass capabilities like SSO configuration and MFA customization in the future. Thank you.
Well, now it's time. We're going to have a little bit of chat with Nextpoint's General Counsel, Sonali Hansen, who has been with Nextpoint for quite a while, and she is perfectly positioned to give us a little bit more of sort of the bigger picture as to why this single sign-on release is so important. And really, Sonali, why don't you just talk a little bit about over the years how Nextpoint has really put a specific focus on security, both from user logins, even just making sure that the right people are getting access to the right databases, as well as data security, some of the other things that we've been working on here at Nextpoint.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Brett. As everyone knows, we've been around for a while now, over 20 years, and security has been one of those consistent topics through the course of our time. Being one of the first cloud-based platforms out there, security was one of the biggest hurdles that I think our CEO, Rocky, really likes to kind of joke about. For the first 10 years, he was just consistently trying to overcome the hurdle of explaining how the cloud could be secure. So I think that that's just always been at the forefront because of the fact that we are cloud-based, and that is something that's truly important when, describing our product and the utilization of that. and ensuring kind of making sure that all of our clients feel safe in putting their data into our platform. So we were one of the first that came out with the two-factor authentication and MFA options within the industry. And we've been really consistent with also making sure that we are right on top of our SOC 2 audit every year. We've done that now for almost a decade. And, that is something that we also are able to provide to our clients if that's something that they ever want to kind of get added validation around, whether it be for themselves or whether it be for their end client.
We put so much focus on this that there is a site that, Sonali, I know that you had a lot to help with putting up. We call it our trust site, but it's really just a great rundown of the security options that we send to our customers. That site is at nextpoint.com/trust, nextpoint.com/trust. And so anybody can go there and visit that page, and it just kind of gives a rundown of a lot of the things that you've just shared, Sonali, which is great. Which brings us, of course, to one of the major announcements that we have today that we are rolling out, which is single sign-on, or SSO as it's really known. I know a lot of people have been asking about this. Well, I would just say maybe there's like a very specific kind of a customer, right, that has been asking about this. There's a lot of other people that maybe don't use this all the time, but for the organizations or firms or companies that do utilize SSO, it was pretty important for us to make sure that we were going to have this rollout. I was hoping you could speak just a little bit more to that, Sonali, as to why it was so important for us.
Yeah, definitely. So as you mentioned, the clients that do have SSO implemented kind of within their ordinary business practice, this is something that was just really crucial to them, and we totally understand why. It was something that was just going to assist with just kind of simplifying and just that added efficiency to their workday. And we're really happy to kind of comply with that and be a part of that.
So important. That's good. Now, a lot of that with the single sign-on and some of the other things with like multi-factor authentication, Sonali, you mentioned, I feel like that's one side of security, right? And making sure that the right people have the right access to get into, certainly for us, access to databases or content or confidential information that they need access to as legal professionals. But there's another side to the security thing, and I know you in your role at Nextpoint and with the Nextpoint Law Group as well, you've been focused on is something generally called data privacy. This is something that's been around for a while. It's obviously, folks that work maybe in the European Union and some European countries are familiar with I think it's the GDPR, right? The General Data Protection rules and regulations. We haven't seen that in the United States as much, but boy, it's starting to come on pretty strong. So, for example, California has a data privacy law, and I think several other states have come out with this. And really, this has to do with, more specifically, maybe individuals, right? And their access to request whether their data be deleted or not. I was hoping you could speak a little bit more to that, because with this new data control admin tab that we now have within the Nextpoint platform, this gives more power really to our individual clients and customers for making sure that they can conform to those rules if they need to.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, the data privacy considerations have definitely gotten more and more stringent and more robust as the years have progressed, which totally makes sense because we're just dealing with more data on an exponential rate year to year. So a couple of the areas that I know that we always kind of see this is specifically around the collections, the preservation of data, actually producing the information to, whatever other hands that it might be exchanging into. And there are a lot of considerations that are always, important to keep in mind through the course of all of that. As you mentioned, California is really at the forefront of this with the CPRA in place. But there are about 13 other states that have already adopted some form of statewide privacy law. So that's something that our team is well equipped to that's our job. We try and stay ahead of exactly what those laws look like, which jurisdictions that's at issue for, and advising our clients on exactly the when and the what, that they need to really make sure that they're keeping in mind during the course of their discovery or even ultimately up to that litigation period.
I briefly mentioned the Nextpoint Law Group, which has been around now in existence for just a year. It's like our birthday for the Nextpoint Law Group. So while you work, you have very important responsibilities on the Nextpoint software side. Sonali, a year ago, we launched the Nextpoint Law Group, which was very exciting. And I know specifically as a partner in the Nextpoint Law Group, you do a lot of work in helping out specific clients on some of these more, I guess, legal regulations and the rules and the responsibilities when it comes to this data privacy. Could you just talk quickly a little bit about the Nextpoint Law Group, our 1-year anniversary, and maybe even some of the work you've done there?
Yes, definitely. So yeah, we're really excited to celebrate a year under our belt. It truly has been a great venture, and I think that, just the industry has responded really, really well to this. As I was noting earlier, the rules around privacy and even security regulations and just compliance factors are ever changing. So it's hard to stay on top of that. So with the fact that that is something that we take on, and that that's our bread and butter, and that people come to us to kind of really advise them through the course of that, has been really great. And what we've kind of noticed has been tried and true, especially around the privacy sector, as well as actually the security element, has been a lot of the corporations that we work with, as well as specifically actually banks. They are always looking to make sure that they are kind of up to standard in terms of their internal security measures. And then if there is an impending litigation, how to best kind of comply with the privacy regulations or requirements of a particular jurisdiction based on, whatever might be being gathered from that particular entity. So that's something that we've really been noticing a lot more in terms of the ask around our clientele.
Well, it's good that you're there, because anyone that's listening to this, if you have questions specifically around this, maybe you're a law firm and some of your clients have been asking a little bit more about data privacy issues and how to navigate that. That's what Sonali is here for, and her team. So if you have any questions, please reach out to your Nextpoint representative or directly to the Nextpoint Law Group, and we'll be happy to help. Sonali, thanks for being with us and talking a little bit more about our data security focus and the data privacy aspect as well.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us on our summer 2024 quarterly product launch, give you a little bit more information about the single sign-on tools that we've been working on, as well as the data control admin tab. Also, hopefully it was good for you to hear a little bit more from Sonali Hansen, our general counsel at Nextpoint, as to why some of these improvements and upgrades are so important for us as well as our customers. If you want to learn a little bit more about our focus on security here at Nextpoint, we have a great website for you to go to. It is at nextpoint.com/trust. And if you just go to nextpoint.com/trust, it gives a lot of information. We put this page together because we would have questions from our customers or even potential customers about what security protocols do you have in place. And this one page here provides a lot of that information. We also, at the very end here, want to tell you about a save the date for the Nextpoint user conference that we call On Point. That is going to be in the middle of September. And if you want to go to nextpoint.com/on-point, you'll find all the information right now and sign up to get some updates about our Nextpoint user conference, On Point. Nextpoint.com/on-point will be the website that you can go to get some more information. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.